Start talking. So everybody, welcome. This is Career Lab Wednesday. Vern, good to see you there. We hear you.
Good morning.
I might put you on mute. Thanks, Jane. Thank you. So we're going live here, Career Lab Wednesday, every Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. We are here to support you in your career. And we look at it we bring a lot of social and emotional intelligence training into the coaching that we do here. So that may support you in your interviews. It could support you in relationships with your manager, your team. And so I say that all questions career related are welcome. There's no question too small, no question too big. If we're unable to help, if I can't answer your question or Drew can, or nobody on here can, maybe we'll be able to point you in the right direction. So, but we invite any question that you have. So that's the most important thing, is what's on your heart. What do you need help with right now? What blocks are you experiencing? How can we help you through those? So the past month, we've really been looking at emotional intelligence, how that plays out in the career. And I've been getting a lot of great engagement on that, how to use fear, harness it, to help drive towards what you want. When working with a team, how to deal with the hungers that we all have as human beings, and how to affirm ourselves in a way so that when we're going into, if you're a boss going in to a team meeting, you've got to be affirmed before going in there, because if you're looking for affirmation from your staff, you're setting yourself up for a lot of pain. So little things like that about how to pay attention to our feelings in a way that's going to have them empowering us and being the most effective that we can be. And we also, Vern, we got to talk to you a lot last week about a lot of stuff around social and emotional intelligence, because oftentimes you can have be an excellent engineer, have a great skill set, and knowing how to communicate that to people, especially different personality types, that's a skill in and of itself. And learning how to translate that to your resume, to interviews, etc. A lot of this falls in the realm of soft skills and social and emotional intelligence. So that's a quick high-level run through of what we're doing. Again, if you are on YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, and you are open to jumping in here on the Zoom link, I love it. That's the best way I can work with you and ask you questions. If you can't do that, if you're just going to be viewing into the live stream, you can ask questions by typing those into the comment section. And so take a look at that. And if you have any, if you're wanting the Zoom link, just say, hey, let me get the Zoom link, and Jane will get that over to you. So I'll share those details again in a little bit, but let's get going here. And we have with us Drew Allison, who has been joining in periodically over the past few months, as he's been in a big career transition himself. So many of you who I see on here are familiar with Drew and his journey. And Drew, I would love to have an update on, where you're at. And before we went live here, you were talking about how you're using fear in a different way, perhaps, than you were before. I'd love to hear about it.
Thanks, George. It's always good to be back. For those that don't know me, I went through a career transition. I've been going through one over the past 6 months, and I think it's going to continue to evolve as I find what I want out of this season of my career. I was a VP of sales for a national insurance organization up until December of last year. Was notified that my job was going to be eliminated, and went on the job hunt. And as I was learning about what was happening out in the marketplace and the open positions available, I got really excited about the idea of consulting and working with a variety of clients, and especially small to medium-sized companies that are mission-driven to make an impact in their industry, in their communities, create jobs, innovation, all that good stuff. And it's been a wild ride. And I'll tell you, George, I am scared out of my mind. Like, that fear is at the top of my head at all times. And you know, I think I very goofily thought, oh, I'm going to do a ton of networking, get a couple clients, and my life will relax. I'll relax into it. But no, it just keeps coming more and more. My networking is continuing to skyrocket. The intentionality of meeting people whom I can serve and who can serve me is on the front of my mind, and it's really scary. It's scary to constantly be putting myself out there and to not have people respond to my messages, or to have an automatic response come back. I've been seeing that more and more as people are automating their LinkedIn profiles, automating their inboxes. You know, and you can just tell it's not a personalized response. And then I have a great conversation with somebody and we talk about next steps. And then, you know, a week goes by and I haven't heard back. And these are all very normal things. Salespeople, I've been running into this in my sales career constantly. The big change is it's now my name on the shingle. It's my name out there. It's my reputation, my company, my essence, and it just ramps the fear up that much more. And what I've noticed, and the shift that I've been making recently, is when I feel fear, I immediately write down what happened the moment before I felt it. You know, so you know, I actually have a coaching session coming up, you know, at 12:45 today, and I was really excited to come on to Career Lab, and I thought, oh no, I'm not going to have time to prepare for this coaching session, and so I wrote that down. I was like, fear of not being prepared. And then I looked at my calendar and I realized I had 20 minutes before this Career Lab started where I can prepare for that coaching session, and I'm ready to go. And I was able to solve it. And knowing that fear of not being prepared was something that triggered me, I put more emphasis on preparation and planning my day accordingly. And because I've noticed as I'm taking notes, fear of preparation is a big one. Fear of not knowing enough about the person I'm meeting with is something that has been creeping into my mind a lot. I really want to be educated about who they are, what their business is, you know, ways that I may be able to serve them. I might be able to anticipate. Though anticipation is a tricky thing, because if I have too much in my mind going into a conversation, I'm not open to listening to what that person is telling me. You know, I've already got my preconceived notions, and I'm not actively listening for the concerns that are on their mind and what it is that they're talking about. And so, you know, the biggest update for me is really taking stock throughout the day about my fears and using that tool of jotting them down, recognizing what I'm afraid of, and then bringing them to my allies. So I recently, as of last week, started what I'm calling the accountability crew. And there's 3 of us that meet on Mondays and Thursdays for 15 minutes, super short. And we just talk about what we have done and what we're going to do with intention. You know, very achievable, measurable goals that we have for ourselves. All 3 of us are in a variety of career changes or transitions. And I'm finding that when I don't want to do something for me, like I don't want to prepare for this meeting, or I don't want to go network and schedule more meetings, I want to take a day off, I think, well, then I'm not going to have anything to talk about with my accountability crew. Like I gotta do it for them. If I'm not going to do it for me, I got to do it for them. And I love having that extra layer of accountability, because I know I'm going to fall short every once in a while. I'm going to get lazy. I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be tired. And so having people that we just are there to support one another, again, 15 minutes twice a week, it's not a big thing. But by bringing my fears and being able to look at my fears and bring it to them, it's been a huge shift in the way I'm using emotional intelligence on a day-to-day basis. So it's good to be back, George. It's good to see everybody.
Sweet. Thank you, Drew. And there's a few things that you shared that I want to underline for everybody. One of the big things with what you're saying about using your fear, noticing what you have anxieties about, because that's a different come from. You know, if I'm what I would normally do is be like, oh, I need to, if I hear the phrase shift my mindset, you know, if I'm like, oh, well, I'm afraid I can't do this, and just tell myself, no, don't be afraid, go do it. The problem that comes out with that is that I'm not using the fear I have to be more conscious. And so I can go into an interview, and you said something about this, Drew, about like you can use your fear so much to gather so much data that then when you're meeting with the person, you're not even connecting with them. You're not even able to hear them because you're like, no, I got everything I need. I know. And that's, that can be a real problem. And especially if you are applying at a place where you have all the requirements met and you have a great deal of experience, but if you're not able to be in touch with your fears around the differences in this organization, etc., the chances that you're going to be out of rapport with somebody increase. And so what I like about what you're saying, Drew, is you're noticing your fear in a way that's bringing you more present, more moment to moment, and having the ability to actually notice what's happening around you. And so I wanted to underline that because when we talk about, a lot of kind of the dirty secret in positive psychology is that we often look over the pain and the uncomfortable feelings. And I think it's really important to underline the idea that there's no such thing as a bad feeling, that fear, hurt, anger, sadness are all things that can help me be more effective and overall feel more joy. And so, what you're talking about of noticing the fear, and a trick too that I want to underline for everybody is to be able to sit with that fear a little longer, because I'm so uncomfortable that I am in the habit of jumping to solutions that very well may not work. And so developing the discipline of like what you're doing, Drew, of simply noticing the anxiety of, oh, I'm not going to be prepared enough, and just writing it down, that is a wonderful strategy to soothe the fear and to soothe myself in it, and to stay with that. And so that's, I think I've probably said enough about it, but that's where we're coming from today. And Drew, thank you so much for sharing about that. And a thing I want to say to everybody too who's joining in is that when people are sharing here, they may not be talking about specifically what you have going on in your career, in your life, but look for the ways that it applies to you, because every human being has fear, hurt, anger, sadness, joy. We all feel emotions. It's the universal language. So pay attention to what the feelings are and where you're noticing that in your life, and see if you can't learn vicariously with somebody else as they're learning how to engage with their emotions. So that's just another little piece of context I wanted to set. So welcome again, everybody. I would love to open up the floor to everybody, and feel free to jump in with any questions you have. It doesn't have to be about this topic. Anything career related, I'm here to support you with. And Drew is a great resource as well. So take advantage of us while we're here. So what questions do you have? How can we support you today? Welcome Ryan, and welcome Elena. And good to have you back, Eric and Vern. Any ways that we can support you today? And if you don't want to come off mute, you can always type your questions into the chat section. And if you want to stay anonymous, that's fine too. You can just say, this is my question.
Good afternoon, George.
Hey, Vern. What's going on?
Nice looking background you got there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bright and wow, it wakes you up.
There we go. It's that kind of day.
It really is. It's kind of a sleepy day. But I've got a interview tomorrow that I'm preparing for at 2:00.
Oh, fantastic. Congrats.
So I'm doing the search thing and the LinkedIn thing and doing many connections. You got what I sent your way.
Oh, you know what? I haven't looked at my LinkedIn messages today.
Okay. It wasn't today. It was several days ago.
Okay.
No problem.
Well,
I
so what is it that, how can we support you with your interview tomorrow?
well, I'm going through some of the questions and things that I think I sent you my star report, star
Yes,
stories.
I got something from you today at 8:30 this morning.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I didn't think I had done so. Okay. But
So placemaking at the core.
yeah, oh, that was yesterday.
Okay. Okay,
That's
cool. So is this where you're applying?
no, it's not what I'm playing. I had connected up with them before, and they're in waiting right now. Too long, actually. But at the same time, there's a company called SEH that's
Mm-hmm.
nationwide. It's in a lot of the states. Short Elliott Henderson. They're known for development, community development,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to connect up with them for that reason. Interviewed. It really draws upon much of what I had done before previously, and at the same time, it enables it to be done for the benefit of the community as well as the stakeholders of the land. It's really
Oh,
looks like a good piece.
okay. Cool. What support do you want with preparation for that tomorrow?
I'm just doing a really great job of listing. So I might not focus on anything today, but rather I'm trying to do my research for tomorrow.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, do you know what it is that how well do you understand the position that you're applying for and
Uh,
understand their needs?
they've given me a really just good description of it. Yes.
Okay. And Vern, I'm realizing this is on an issue I've had, is that people will send me sometimes to my Gmail and not my work email. So when sending me things, please send it to Right Foundation, or to the George. I'll throw it in the chat in a second. George at rightfoundation.org or George at rightliving.com. It's the same thing. So
Thank you,
I
George.
apologize. That can be confusing because I have several things on Google, and I apologize for that. I'm
Great.
working
I'll
that up.
I'll look to chat as well.
Okay.
I'll check the chat.
So Vern, the overall thing that you want to do in the meeting tomorrow in your interview is how long is the interview?
At least a half an hour, 40
And
minutes.
do you know how many candidates there are?
That's one of the dozens of questions I'm going to ask.
Okay.
I don't know much about it. It's probably not probably more than five or six. I'm sure. I guess I'm shortlisted because of having been contacted up with them.
Okay, so the approach that I want you to take tomorrow, welcome, Deborah. The approach I want you to take tomorrow is to remember to interview them.
It's a two-way conversation.
What's that?
A two-way opportunity.
Yeah, you don't need to list off all of the great things you've done.
No.
Only talk about the ones that apply specifically to that position, and then follow up with the question. Like if you're sharing about a success you had with a former project, and because that's one of the bullet points that they highlight on your resume, then say, I imagine that's what this kind of thing is going to be needed in this position. And then they'll respond with yes or no, or that you'll have more of that conversation in the next interview. So that's the overall approach that I want you to take. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Truly.
Okay, fantastic.
I'm really good at the conversational, having interviews like this.
Okay. Fantastic.
I've oftentimes had something like that with regard to what I'm doing. And many people have oftentimes said, gee, it's a really refreshing to have a conversation with a person rather than be quizzed.
Okay. Well, cool, Vern. Looking forward to hearing how it goes. That's
Thank you, George.
fantastic. Drew, is there anything you want to add?
No, it sounds exciting. It sounds like Vern's doing the right thing in terms of researching the company a little bit, maybe finding some people who work there on LinkedIn, seeing what they might be saying or doing. And yeah, going into those conversations with interviewing the interviewer mindset, not like drilling them and like, you don't want to pepper them with too many questions, but showing them that you really care by wanting to get to know about the company, and also asking them personal questions about their experience. Why did they join the company? If they've been there for a while, why did they stay? Often a different answer as to why somebody initially joined a company. So it all sounds like really great stuff. I'm excited and excited for Vern, and looking forward to hearing more.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, welcome, Deborah. I would love to hear from you in a bit, and Ryan as well, but we've got a question coming in. So it's the best way to navigate a change from one career to another. Example would be from payroll to accounting or finance. Yeah, are you able, if you're able to jump in and share more about that, that would be great. Jump into Zoom or type a little bit more there. Give us a little more information about it. But Drew, what can you say about this from changing from one career to another?
Well, there's two ways I can interpret this question. One is I want to make the change, but haven't made it yet. The other is I am transitioning from payroll into accounting and want to make the most of that transition. So looking at it the first way, if you're in a career and you want to pivot to a new career, what's the best way to navigate that? The best thing that I've always done when I'm looking to change careers, change industries, change job titles is to take real stock into what I've been doing and specifically what I love about what I've been doing recently. What is it that I really enjoy? And what am I looking to get out of that next role? Because sometimes I've been inspired to make a change because I might make more money, or I might get to work in a company that I think is cooler, or something like that. But but often I forget about, okay, I really love certain aspects of my job now. How do I want to make sure I preserve those and add to them? I don't want to lose what I love. So it's taking stock into what I really enjoy doing, and also what I'm good at and why I'm good at it. Am I good at, high attention to detail with a fast-paced environment? Am I good at, abstract thinking when I have a little bit more time to brainstorm where it's not as fast-paced? What are the aspects of the job that I'm good at, and sort of the larger reasons as to why I'm good? And the reason I do that is because I think about how I'm going to talk about my experiences in industry A and how they transfer to industry B. So that's the real question is, the people that you're interviewing with in the new industry may not have relevant experience in your old industry. And so painting the picture for them, drawing the connections between, okay, the skills I picked up in payroll, here is where I can apply them in accounting and finance. Let me tell you that story. I don't want you to have to figure it out for yourself. So really understanding how the two jobs connect and where my skills and abilities connect between the two. And I'm just reading here. It looks like he's been working in payroll, HR for about 10 years and looking to pivot into a new career. Cool. What I love about HR is it's the nexus of any business. Like any company, any industry is going to need an HR department, going to need payroll support. So you've had insight into all the other departments that flow into your department, which gives you a lot of experience interacting with other departments. So a great example of this in my career, when I went from selling insurance to managing insurance professionals, I knew how to manage them because I was one of them. And so if Michael has experience working and supporting accountants or finance folks, that experience supporting them helps him become one even better, because he has more intimate knowledge of what they like, what they want, how they want it, how they communicate, all that kind of good stuff. As I'm thinking about it, especially if we're talking about a career in accounting, there may be additional continuing education that you need, certifications or additional schooling. And so doing the research into that early before you get too far along in the process, so you know what you're in for, and also you'll know what questions the interviewers may be asking you. It may be that they will provide the training for you, but you want to be aware of what you're going into before the interview, so that way you're not sideswiped and surprised. I'm actually coaching somebody a little bit later on this afternoon who has an interview with an insurance for an insurance sales job. They've never done insurance before, and so I'm sort of I'm going to be coaching them on that. And the big thing I'm going to school them on is the vernacular, the language, understanding what the key performance indicator, the KPI metrics are in the industry and what they mean and the narrative that they tell. That's the stuff you're going to want to learn before you get in there. You're going to want to show them that you've done your research, you understand the language of that industry or that department. So that way they know, okay, they may not have the experience, but at least they're taking it upon themselves to learn as much as they can ahead of time. As simple as Googling top accounting concepts to be aware of in XYZ industry, or searching for podcasts that talk about accounting 101 or careers in finance or things like that, and just start listening for the language that they're using, because being able to speak in the common language is the fastest way to show somebody that you're connected with what they're doing. I don't know, if anybody's ever traveled abroad, and if you've worked to try to learn the language and you go to talk to somebody and you're at least making an effort, right? You might not get the pronunciation right, your accent's probably terrible, but you're trying. That person's most likely going to have a smile on their face, very similar to George's right now. They're going to be like, thank you so much for trying. You did your best. Not everyone's going to have that reaction, but most people will. They will appreciate that you're giving it your shot. And transitioning careers is very similar in the sense that you're learning a new language, you're learning a new culture, you're learning a whole lot of new things that you can educate yourself on before getting into the interview. And all of that stuff can inform your cover letter, your resume, your LinkedIn messages, your email outreach, voicemails you leave people. That's all going to give you a stronger common language with folks that you're networking with in order to build rapport faster. Because that's, at the end of the day, you want to build rapport with people, and especially hiring managers, HR folks that are fulfilling roles. They may not know enough about your existing role to be able to draw those connections themselves. And so you're going to want to paint that picture, connect those dots for them, and developing a shared language, understanding that culture ahead of time is a really good bet. Also looking at your own network, looking through your LinkedIn contacts, looking not only your first contacts, which are the people you're directly related to, but your second contacts, which are the hundreds and thousands of people who you have a shared connection with. You can easily use the search filters in LinkedIn to find these people and see who's in the finance world already, who's in the accounting world already. And then you can see, oh, George is a connection between us. Vern is a connection between us. I'm going to reach out to George and say, hey, I'm really curious about getting into accounting. I see there's this person that you're connected to. Would you mind making an introduction? Would you mind, and they might say, I actually don't know them very well, but I do know this person who's in accounting, and I'll introduce you to them. So you never know where those conversations may go. So that's a great tool, a great asset for getting to know more about the space before you get too far along the process. Because not only do you want to make a good impression, but you also want to decide, is this something I genuinely want to be doing? Is this the way, I want to be making my money and living my life? And the more exposure you can have ahead of time before you get into the interviews, the better. And then you can get even more data throughout the interviews as well. So, George, curious what your thoughts are on it.
Well, this is great. I mean, the main thing I want to underline is what you're saying about the level of research that's available to everybody now. Mm-hmm. That's remarkable that you can, for the most part, a lot of people are on LinkedIn. Not everybody is, but you can really feel things out. I love what you said about listening to a podcast and hearing what the language is like. That stuff is really helpful just to get me, because if I'm not, that's a useful way of using fear, right? If I don't know, I should be afraid because I don't know. And so there's things that I can do. And so great, I'm going to do a kind of research that's going to help me be more confident. Wonderful. So I really wanted to underline that. And I don't know that and I assume other people might not realize how much micro moves, little steps they can take to prepare themselves and how much of that's available. So wanted to underline that. And then also from a purpose place of looking at your career, Michael, in a, what's going to help you become the person you want to become. And it sounds like there's meaning for you in this. And then I had a hunch about this, and then we got a comment from Terry about being a payroll manager. We need more people going into finance accounting, ! Most finance accounting employees do not understand payroll taxes when they are paid, limits to unemployment, etc. They seem to ask the same questions over and over again. And where I'm going with this is that I suspect, Michael, that when you're in that transition, that there might be, you might find a great deal of meaning for it for yourself, of helping people understand what they haven't understood before, and really being, a huge asset in what you can do there. Maybe part of why you're wanting to transition is because you see a need. There's an issue, and you're like, well, if I do this, I think I could really support this and make this better. And so going into when making a transition with that kind of emotional and purposeful backing to it is really something to notice and that you can use. So I don't know if any of that's true, but something Drew said, and then what Terry shared, has me, thinking that might be helpful to hear, Michael, about, seeing what a gift you are, you could be, what an asset you could be, and that should help you in whatever interview process you're in, in having more confidence and digging into what the role is that you're applying for. So that's what I was thinking about, Drew, too, while you were sharing. So
yeah, one quick thing I'll add to that as well is, if you're, and this is typically advice I give when people are looking to move up in their existing companies. So if you're looking to take on additional responsibilities or move to a different department in your existing company, you're most likely going to need the buy-in of your current manager. They carry a lot of weight in terms of recommending you for that role. And one of the reasons that managers are hesitant to recommend people for internal moves or promotions is because it makes their lives harder. Now they have a gap on their team. Now they have somebody now they have a job to fill. And that brings a lot of fear to them. So part of this, the emotional intelligence is understanding how our behaviors impact our own emotions. Social intelligence is understanding how my behaviors impact your emotions. So as an employee, if I go to my boss and say, hey, boss, I'd love to become an accountant. These are all the great reasons why. These are the things that are going to benefit me. If I'm not aware that my boss is just thinking, well, now I've lost a payroll person and I don't know how I'm going to fill that, and I'm going to have to work extra hours, they're not listening to you. So you need to be aware of that. You need to know, hey, I want to make this move, but I want to make it in a way that is good for the company and good for the team. Is there any way that, and you may already have identified a junior person who could take your role. Hey, I think Tim would be a great person to take on my role. If you'd like, I could start training him, or I could start giving him additional responsibilities, to see how he handles it and see if we can, he's a good person to move into the role. Or, I'd love to, I'd be able to split my time. I have a friend who is actually a controller for a brewery, and he's moving into a role with another brewery under the same investment firm. And he did both roles for 2 weeks. that was kind of the deal. Like, hey, if you can do these both roles for 2 weeks, we're going to make that transition. It's going to be great. Now, there's a danger there. Some companies are like, hey, if you can just do this for 2 weeks, that'd be great. 3 years later, you're still doing 2 jobs for 1 salary, and it becomes a whole mess. But that's another conversation. But being flexible in that transition and understanding that you are causing a gap in where you leave behind and helping to fill that gap, helping to solve that problem. You could even say, hey, I'd love to advertise the role on my LinkedIn. I'd love to help interview. I'd love to help train the new person that comes on, whatever it might be. Those are great things that you can do to ease the fear of the people that frankly hold the decision in their hands.
Whoa, Drew, that last one that you just said of I would advertise the position on my LinkedIn and help interview. I think that's great to take that kind of initiative. One that makes me think of something I've shared often is that a lot of companies don't have a great hiring process. And so
or a great training process.
Okay, yeah. And so if you step up in that way in your company, that can help create a new system. It can, for the next person who's doing what you're doing. I just never even thought of that. I would take responsibility, put the position on my LinkedIn and help make this happen. That's great. So that's underlining one of the key things that people are looking for. Vern, I'm thinking of you for tomorrow in your interview is people are looking for who takes initiative. So if I'm interviewing somebody, I'm wondering, do they take initiative? And then I'm also looking at, are they somebody who gets results? Then the third thing is it somebody I like working with? And I might not be conscious of that. That might be below what I'm consciously thinking about, but that is a factor in there and that's where a lot of this emotional intelligence stuff can come in of how to really build rapport with somebody. But that first thing of demonstrating of the ways that you take initiative. So Vern, I underlining that for you for tomorrow and for everybody listening in. So love that, Drew. That's a great idea. And Michael says this is very helpful. Thank you. So
very helpful, Drew. Thanks, George.
You bet, Vern. So I'm going to do a quick room reset. This is Career Lab Wednesday. Every Wednesday noon to 1 p.m. we are here to take your questions to help you develop in your career. So any questions that you have, they don't have to do with a social emotional intelligence topic. I'll probably make them about a social emotional intelligence topic, so you don't have to worry about that. But any question that's on your heart is really the most important thing. Oh, great, Deborah. Cool. Okay. So things you hadn't thought of. Okay. So any questions? I want to open up the floor to everybody. And Eric, if there's any updates that you have, anything that you want to share, I know you checked in last week just about the growth that you got from going for a role, even though you didn't get it. But any updates, please keep us in the loop. And any questions from, if you're on LinkedIn Live or on YouTube and you can't join directly into the Zoom link, you can type your questions into the comment section and Jane will get those over to us and we'll do our best to answer them. So any questions? How can we support you today?
Hey, George, this is Eric. How are you?
Hey, doing well, Eric. What's going on?
Yeah, not too much to update on. I had a phone screen for this other internal role I had applied for. As you can imagine, being an internal candidate, there wasn't really a whole lot to it because obviously they didn't need to walk me through what the company does and other functional questions. So at this point, the next step would be to interview. So the person who was my boss, but then when the company split, they got a promotion to now my boss's boss. But if I took this role, they'd be back to being my boss again. So, company reorgs, super fun. And I work with him a lot anyway on a lot of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how that interview goes, should I get that far. But yeah, I think I'm just waiting on that next step for this other internal role, and we'll see what happens with it.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, so I'll share for everybody. What Eric's been doing is interviewing internally. So when stuff comes up that he's interested in, he's going for it and is taking initiative, sending reminders of, hey, I'm interested in this, getting this back at the top of your inbox. And what's happening is that leadership in his company is seeing this. They're like, okay, Eric's a player. This is somebody on our radar. And so that's an approach that for a lot of us, we can take at any point in time. We can just look for the next opportunity and make it obvious that we're interested and help create the relationships, connections that facilitate that happening. So Eric, thank you for the update on that, and looking forward to support you in continuing in your advancement there.
And George, I'm going to take this opportunity to head out, but I just wanted to say real quick on that note. I was talking with my sister, who's a consultant as well, and she had read that if somebody presents you with a project or a contract or a job, and you are 40% sure that you can do that job, take it. Do not wait till you're 100% sure. And in fact, the article said if you're 70% sure that you can do it, it's probably not a big enough challenge for you. The money might be good. There might be other things that factor into it. But if you're looking for a work challenge, it's kind of that 40 to 65% comfort rate. That's what's going to put you into a new, give you new challenges, grow you, push you, and all that good stuff. So I know there's a lot of, and I'm applauding Eric for applying for these jobs and showing that initiative. And he may or may not feel 100% confident in the roles that he's applying for. Most of the roles that I apply for, I know that I don't have the experience right away, but I know I can get it, and I trust, I bet on myself that I can learn it quickly. And so I'll leave you with that. That's something I've been holding. That's
beautiful, Drew. Thank you.
Yeah. So great to see everybody. Have a wonderful time with the rest of the lab, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thank you, Drew. Good luck this afternoon.
Thanks again, Drew.
Oh, that's so great. So it makes me think of Abraham Maslow and him saying we should be doing something outside of our comfort zone at least 12 times a day. And so we can it doesn't have to be just going for a job that is outside of our experience. It can be many little things that are out of our comfort zone that help prime us for that. That's one of the strategies that we use in our programs, is to have people, if I know that I have an interview coming up, I can do a lot of things that will do a mock interview for one, but I can even break it down and just say, you know what, I'm going to go talk to some more people that I normally wouldn't. I'm going to go to a networking event just to get outside of my comfort zone, because I know that going into the interview, I'm going to have a lot of discomfort. So I'm going to prime myself. It's like, if I'm getting ready for a big game, I'm going to do all the workouts and stretches and exercises and drills to help get me ready for that. So there's all kinds of ways that little life hacks we can do that are helping us prepare for an interview that go beyond just the research. There's ways of engaging in the conversations that you're already having that can help you get the most from whatever the next challenges that you're preparing for. So hoping that's helpful for everybody. I've got a question or a comment or question here. A multiple job history, and you're looking for ways to make a career change using past skills. Deborah, can you share more about that? I can talk a little bit about it, but if you're able to come off mute. Thank you, Eric. I'll take care and see you in a bit. But Deborah, is that something you can share more about?
Sure. Basically, I started out being in childcare, running daycare centers, Then I went into working at a law firm, working in accounting and financial, and in that area. And then that led me to becoming a recruiter in a agency. And then since then, I've been doing a lot of manufacturing. I worked at Milwaukee Tool and as a mold tech. But I would like to get more into using more customer service, sales, type of stuff. And it seems that seeing I've had more people related jobs in my past, and now I've kind of reverted into doing more tech skills. It's
I'm
like,
so curious about that. How did you make that transition?
well, after working at the law firm and I was working with attorneys and I was working with patents and designing and doing a lot of research, I was drawn to engineering and computers. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so I started going to Milwaukee School of Engineering, taking those classes, and life just changed. Divorce, kids, and everything. And so I couldn't complete school. So therefore I started just like I said, and then picking up all these manufacturing technical jobs, thinking, well, if I get in one of these companies, maybe I can help progress my education. But that hasn't really happened. I just keep getting in these tech molding and metals and things like that. So I'm trying to figure out how I can.
So your
grow.
ultimate, your purpose, one of your purposes anyways, is to get your degree.
Yeah, I still don't have a completed degree, which would probably help my finances big time.
Okay, so how far along are you?
I've got like well, MSOE is like a 3-year program, and I've got a year and a half in.
Okay.
So going back to school for that, and like I said, I was combining 2 degrees, computer science and mechanical design engineering. So if I have to pick one, it's kind of like, okay, which one can I do that I'm going to have a job in it? But I like finances. I like numbers. I like problem solving is really
Well,
and I like people
so Deborah, I
talking.
mean, for security,
Uh-huh.
finances is something that's there's usually always going to be a need for that.
Okay.
So, and wow, you have such a diverse and useful background. And if you're wanting your people skills, if you're in, I mean, so you've been designing and engineering and manufacturing, like working on the line.
Correct.
Okay, so you know the ins and outs of that. I mean, and you've worked as an admin. So your ability to do sales for companies is, I would think, would be pretty high, given that you know the ins and outs of everything. And if you want to be people facing, but you didn't say anything about doing sales. That was just where my mind went. I was like, wow, you really could. And I don't know. Well, so what is it that you're going for now?
Well, that's just it. I'm trying to take a look now at my life and try and figure out, okay, like from talking with supervisors, they're like, well, you know a lot, you do a lot. So I'm supposed to just look at their job menu and pick something and apply for it, is what I'm told. But now it's kind of like, okay, how do I go by taking my skills, making sure I'm making the right decision into making this type of jump? You get comfortable at what you're doing, but you really gotta do something better in your life because you can't.
Where are your kids at?
Oh, my kids are both married and grown, and so
So
I am pretty much. I can jump through any door or window. I can move. I can do whatever I really want to do right now in my life.
Oh, this is fantastic. Okay, so you are facing existential anxiety also in a new way, because you have freedom like you've never had before.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, this is so exciting. So, you know, the top thing that I can recommend is that you engage a lot, you interview a lot, and that's going, you don't have to know exactly what it is you're doing. You,
Okay.
as you interview, it sounds like you're gonna want to know that you can work with a space that's gonna help you continue your education.
Mhm.
So you might ask, do you help pay for continued education, or do you just have, is the work environment, is it something that, you're going to understand that there's times that I'm going to be doing that, and that I'm going to be building my schedule around that. And just for you to be asking the companies that you're interviewing that kind of question, and then helping Drew, what Drew was sharing earlier was you can research, what are the certifications, what kind of education different places would need. You can ask them in the interviews, it looks like I need this kind of stuff. Is that true? Because I'm continuing my education. And I think it will have a lot to do with you engaging. And
Okay.
it sounds like you're good at engaging with people. Would you agree?
Yeah. I also find that strangers are more easier to engage than people, your family know everything about you. You know what I'm saying? So when I go out there and I'm meeting people I don't know, I find them more fascinating, and I'm more asking, like, what do they do? How are they? I don't know, I'm a real people person, wanting to know what are they doing and what are their needs, and how I can even be a part, help them in their growth. I do a lot more of that too.
Okay. So I'm going to ask some questions out of left field here. What's your birth order? How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I am in first place. I am the eldest. My other two sisters are younger.
Okay. And what did your mom and dad do for work?
Well, my dad did manufacturing, but my parents ended up owning up their own business, a fishing business, sales, things like that.
Oh, cool. Okay. How'd they do with the business?
They did very well. Matter of fact, they were in it until they retired at 75.
Uh-huh. Now, a hunch I have is that part of your job as being the oldest was really raising the younger two, helping your parents raise them.
Correct.
So you're probably a cooperator, maybe a bit of an energizer, but probably most of a cooperator personality style. And so you're very good at noticing how a group is feeling, and you make a lot of decisions based on the social feeling of the group.
True.
Is that okay? So now that's a real gift. The downside of it is that you often don't know how to put yourself first in a way that would really benefit everybody even more.
That is true. I put myself on the back burner.
Okay.
And
So
that's why
now,
I'm saying right now at this time period, I'm thinking it's time I really think about me and where I'm going to go, what I need to do. And it's really hard to put myself in that position, like you're saying, you know?
so yes. And my anxiety as I'm talking with you is like, is how primed you are to take on things and make decisions that benefit others and not yourself. And so when you're in this process, for you to be aware of that, and you're going to want to be paying attention to your fear, your
Okay.
hurt, your anger, and your sadness, because you're going to get all kinds of these when we look at our and then there's joy, but it's so helpful to focus on the four that we try to avoid.
Yeah, true.
and to say, okay, wait, to look at them as providing valuable data about yourself and about the environment around you. And so when you're in an interview, or if you're talking to somebody about a company, and for you to notice, oh wow, I feel hurt about something here. Okay, my guess is that that's a pain point in this company. Okay, Now, am I wanting to jump in and fix that? And does me jumping in and fixing that, does that really help me resolve my own internal hurts? Is there going to be a deeper meaning for this in here? Is this going to be something that's going to help me grow? Or is this more of the same where I'm fixing things for other people, but being missed and not seen in the process?
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's just
Yeah.
that one. Then we got that for each level, and we got that for the fear, and we got that for anger too. And anger is a cool one
Mm.
because a lot of times for us, I'm a cooperator too. What a tendency is to kind of turn it inwards
Yes. Yeah.
and to criticize myself.
Very. Yep.
And then
You're right on that one.
Okay. Yep. Yep. So
And then then you lose that self-worth about yourself, you know.
Mhm. Absolutely. And that's a real developmentally, that's a real loss.
Mhm.
And it's hard to influence people in a meaningful way when I'm, so self-critical, because things just don't get through to others. And so learning how to harness your anger in an effective way is a really big deal. Even if you do it just, if we think about shifting things like a percentage point or two, just shifting how you interact with your own anger, like 1 or 2 degrees, just over the course of a month, you can get significant results from that.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah.
Yes. So it's not this, we too often when we talk about shifting our mindset and stuff, we try to jump too fast, too far.
Okay.
And it just doesn't work. I think it's the unconscious mind's dirty little trick to have us say, oh, we're going to make it. And then like I go leap for it and I'm like, yay, this feels great. And then it doesn't work out. And then I'm like, oh, see.
Or my thing is you spend 1 week where you're all in this whole thing. Yeah. And then everything doesn't seem to be like going, or you get lost in it. And then it's like, well, okay, obviously I did something wrong. I failed. So I'm just going to sit back here and wallow in my self-pity, and not go forward again, until I get ready.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I can spend a lot of time getting ready.
Yes.
Oh, okay. This is great, Deborah. And for everybody listening, Deborah, I'd love to talk more with you. So I'm going to throw a link in, and for anybody, you can set up a time to talk with me for 15 minutes, no cost. We can, I'll serve you as much as I can in that time, and we can look at other next steps.
Okay.
And also, please keep joining in and sharing your journey with us. One of the reasons I have this group is that when I'm coaching people, it's so helpful for a person to be working with others and see other people and learning vicariously with them. So it's that's part of what I've learned helps people build and use their momentum well.
Yeah, this is some of the other people that mentioned things today were like, oh, there's another idea I didn't think about or heard. So it was nice.
Okay, good. Well, great. Well, Deborah, thank you for sharing, and keep us updated with what you're doing. And let's also throw out the video on social and emotional intelligence. So take a look at that. And it's just an educational thing about using. One of the first steps with emotional intelligence is simply noticing, being aware of your emotions and how they play out.
Okay.
And then you'll start coming up with the creative ways of using them differently. And so that I wanted to share that with you too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yep. I'll look forward to talking and following you a lot more. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Deborah, thanks for joining in. And everybody, thank you today for joining in to Career Lab Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we're here noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. Love the questions today. Love the engagement. Again, you can book a time with me on my calendar, and also follow on YouTube. And I post videos there, hypnosis, ASMR videos, as well as more tactical things about how to develop social emotional intelligence. So take a look at that stuff, and I hope that serves you as well. I will see you next week, again here Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central Time.